Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Kustas, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies.
Hello, and welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Kustas. Okay, you know when something just keeps tapping at your soul? That's what this episode is going to be about. It's going to be about time because time has been grabbing me, not just like whispering or talking to me. It has been grabbing at my heart lately. And maybe it's just part of being in this season where I am smack dab in the middle of the sandwich generation. I've got my husband, my adult daughter, my junior in high school son, and then I have my mom and my stepdad who are in their 70s, and my grandma, also known as Glam Gram, who is 93 years old. And you guys, I am feeling it big time. I am feeling time pass in my bones. I don't know how else to explain it. And then, so as I'm feeling this and going through this, wouldn't you know it, I hear Mel Robbins talking about the American Time study on a podcast. And I literally was like, no way. First of all, her name keeps coming up in so many of my guest episodes, and I laugh about it all the time. But I was also just going, yes, I have been thinking about this for so long. I have been feeling it, I've been talking about it, and hearing her put data behind it, that is where I felt like it was game changing. And it reminded me, you know what? I need to talk about this on the podcast and I need to talk about this with you because if I'm feeling it and if Mel Robbins is feeling it, and I know a lot of you listen to her, I know you are too. So today we're digging into how women, and I'm going to say from the ages of, this is going to be a big span, you guys, from your 20s until you're 93. And I say that because that's Glam Gram's age. So I want to talk about how each woman experiences time and what we do with it, how it feels in each decade, because that I feel like is so cool when it comes to all of the research that I've been doing and what the data says about how we actually spend it. That is going to blow your mind. Spoiler alert, I'm going to say some of it it's going to hit you right in the gut. But it's not going to be this like bad, horrible thing. So please know that. It's going to be a wake you up to your life way. Okay, that is what I am feeling after doing this research. So, are you ready to go there with me today, ladies? I so hope you are. So, first, let's talk about the American Time study, or officially the American Time Use Survey, just in case you have not heard of it. It looks at how we spend our hours over the course of our lives. And y'all, this stuff is wild. It is wild. Here are a few things that really honestly stopped me in my tracks when I read this. By the time your kid turns 18, you've already spent about 90% of the in-person time you'll ever spend with them. I want you to listen to that again. By the time your kid turns 18, you've already spent about 90% of the in-person time you'll ever spend with them. That is why those last years at home with us, those I'm headed to college soon, mom years, this is why they feel so intense to us, you guys, because they are. Now, of course, this is a generalization. So, some of you are going, wait a minute, I spend a ton of time with my adult kids. Not all of us get that though, because our kids move away. They don't stay in the same town, things like that, right? So again, we're listening to this from a lens of like the general population, okay? But I promise you, there are going to be things you're going to really resonate with. And here's the thing, it's not just kids. By the time we're in our 20s, time with our parents, our siblings, and even close friends starts to drop like crazy. We go from seeing them every day to maybe a few holidays and some catch up calls. I heard something recently that literally made me cry talking about how you and your sibling are likely to be the best of friends growing up. Okay. My brother and I were definitely that. You are completely connected. You know so much about each other. To then, when you leave home, you're only seeing each other once or twice a year for holidays, dependent on where they live, of course. But mine happens to live in another state and has for most of our adult lives because he went into the military. I had moved to Texas. He came there for a little bit, then went into the military. And then from then on, he has pretty much been in a different state than we have, right? So here's the kicker. And this was like, oh, it was just gut wrenching, right? Because they go on to say, so for instance, I'm in my 50s, he's in his late 40s. And so if you look at the average lifespan, they say, okay, so that means, so like for me, that would mean that we will only likely see each other about 30 more times in our lifetime. I was like, excuse me, what? Because doesn't that hit so much differently when you put it into that perspective? Like it almost just makes me sick to my stomach, actually, because I don't even want to wrap my brain around this completely because I feel like, oh my gosh, but that is the reality. And the people we spend most of our time with, get this, who do you think it is? Coworkers. For 30 to 40 years, coworkers take up the biggest chunk of our waking hours. So, if that doesn't make you think about who you work with and how it feels to spend your days there, I don't know what else will. Okay. Now, some of us are like now, I am an entrepreneur and I work mostly from home. But when I was teaching, absolutely true. The teachers and my coworkers in life saw me even more than my family did sometimes, right? Now, here's something beautiful. The time we spend with our partner, if we have one, it starts rising. So, especially as the kids leave home, that person becomes your ride or die. It's your everyday presence. So again, that makes me think about how important it is to nurture that bond and how important it is to be intentional with it. So for me, it's a beautiful thing. I'm remarried, as you guys know. For those of you new around here, I remarried about 7 years ago, and we are actually lucky enough to both have our own businesses in which we get to work together a lot because we work from home. He has a couple of offices, so he pops in there, but really, we spend a lot of time together. Now, are we separated still because I'm in my office, he's in his? Yes, of course. But there is a presence there. And let me tell you, we nurture our relationship because during the day, it's like a very working relationship still, but we nurture it. So again, it's like being intentional about how we nurture that because when we get to the point where we are empty nesters, you start to spend more time together. Also, and this hit deep, you guys, time with our own parents. If they're still here, this starts to shrink fast too. Ugh, gosh, right? But I promise we're not going to just be all doom and gloom here today. I just want to give you some data that was collected through this because I think it's such an important thing to really think about. But here's the thing, eventually, we spend also more and more time alone. Again, not in a sad way necessarily, but it's real. By the time we're in our 80s, alone time is the majority of our day. So, learning to love our own company, you guys, this isn't optional, it is necessary. This is why we need to love ourselves and ourselves, like hanging out with ourselves. And here's the thing, time is not just ticking away quietly in the background, it's shaping who we spend our life with. So, if you're a visual person like me, picture this. Imagine a pie chart of your life and watch how your relationships change shape over time. The slices shrink and grow and nearly disappear. And this isn't to make us all panic. This is to make us pay attention. This is why I was like, we have to talk about it here. So let's pull back and look at how time feels. I think this is really important as well because facts are going to be helpful, but our emotions are real too. Emotions are real, you guys. And you guys know, I am an emotional person. So let me just take you through the decades. Real talk, real talk. So in your 20s, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, but in your 20s, you feel like you've got all the time in the world. You're probably building a career, figuring out your passions. Maybe you're even traveling or living with roommates, and you're surrounded by people all the time. Friends, for the most part, are easy to find, right? Sleep is negotiable. You don't even sleep half the time. My gosh, I listen to my 20 something daughter and I'm like, how do you do life? You might even believe burnout is part of the hustle, right? But here's what the data doesn't always say. This is also when friendships are built for life, when your identity starts to stick. So if you're in your 20s, don't just look ahead, look around. These people and these moments, they matter. And I feel like this generation gets that. I feel like this generation gets that. I talked to my daughter. Well, I hope you listen to our podcast together with one of her besties. I'm telling you, they're so knowledgeable and they're so much more aware than we ever were at their age, in my opinion. Okay. So don't just like hustle through life. Pay attention to who you're connecting with, who you're letting into your world, because oftentimes these people are going to stick around. In your 30s, things shift a little bit again. Okay, so let me explain. Career is more defined, right? Maybe you've started a family and you're juggling, you've got the diaper bags, you've got dinners, you have deadlines for work and friendships. Here's what changes, you guys. And it's hard, but it's true. You blink and it's literally been 6 months since you saw your best friend. Time starts to feel tight. And you start using phrases like, I just don't have time. But here's the thing, you do, we do. It's just being spent differently now. This is what the invitation is in your 30s. It's here to have us carve out those intentional moments. Not, doesn't have to be perfect ones, you guys. But I'm going to tell you, your 30s, they're going to be loud. They're going to be full of so much beauty. I am watching some of the people in my life right now that are in their 30s living this right now. One of my dear friends is actually expecting. She's 36 years old. And I'm watching this in real time, how things have shifted for her. I've known her for several years, probably since her late 20s. And I've watched this evolve for her. So it does happen. And then in your 40s, Hello. This is where we get into the sandwich generation for a lot of us. You're guiding your kids while you're caring for your parents. You're feeling stretched. You're more tired than you want to admit. Okay. And sometimes it feels like everyone needs a piece of you. This is also the time when you realize time is a currency. And this is when I believe in our 40s, you want to spend it better. You want to spend your time better. And this is when we start saying no with a really full heart. When we realize we can't be everything to everyone. And this is when you're going to start getting more selective again. And this is where we are going to get more honest. And even though our days are jammed packed, we start craving this slower, I want to say it's more like a slower, deeper moments, right? And then in your 50s, things begin to settle a little bit. Maybe your kids are grown. So, like mine, I have our 23-year-old and our 16-year-old. So, even our roles as parents start to change because they've just become naturally more independent, especially when they get their driver's license. You're not actually driving them to every single event anymore. So, you're not spending all this time, and then you also, what you start to do is you start to reimagine what is next. And then there's the grief of what has passed. And then there's all this excitement too. Time becomes like this mirror. I'm finding this at 51. You look back and you look forward and you start thinking, what do I really want to do with the rest of my life? And if you haven't already, this is the time to get bold. This is this is the time that you start the thing. Maybe that is healing. Maybe that's forgiving. Maybe that's I don't know, just reclaiming your space. I guess that would be a good way to say it. You take up space differently, and this is where, and I want you to hear this. This is where you let time be a tool, not a thief. Okay? And man, I feel this. Like I said, I feel this in my bones. And I do really believe that this is why in my 40s, as time started to slow down a little bit and I was, reevaluating some things, I knew this was coming. I guess my heart of hearts knew it was coming. And this is why it was easier for me to be more bold. And it continues to be easier to be more bold in making decisions. And then in your 60s, there's often a shift to legacy. Now, I feel like that's already happening in my 50s. I feel like I'm already feeling this. But in doing the research, it says that in our 60s, we start to shift to this legacy place and we start to ask, how am I spending my time now that it feels more like mine again? So, if you're retired or semi retired, you may finally be holding the steering wheel of your time, and you might not have done that before. And that can feel freezing. Freezing. That can feel freeing, but it can also feel confusing. And I would imagine it probably could feel both. But this is where they say relationships start to deepen. Friendships are super tight at this point. Priorities super sharp, like you know what you know, and you know what you want. And here's the thing, you have so much wisdom because you've seen some of life. And now you want to pour into people and you want to pour into your passions that matter the most. And then in your 70s and 80s, that pace slows down, but there's still a richness. And they say that it still grows. I can see this with my mom. And this is when your time becomes sacred, when simple routines really hold beauty, when your presence, just being alive and available, becomes a gift. My mom came over here crying over the summer and she said she just couldn't shake it. She said, I'm just so grateful to be alive and I want to live longer and I want to take care of myself better. And I am telling you, I hear more and more women in their 70s, because I even have them as my clients, talking about that, right? And my grandma has even said the same thing. What they remember most isn't the big stuff. It is the ordinary moments. It's the kitchen talks, it's the car rides, it's the laughter, it's the quiet. These are the things that they are remembering. When my grandma talks about her life and we giggle and we laugh and we just share in all of that, she's talking about moments that weren't these like grandiose moments. They were the little beautiful moments in the in between. And they were the conversations and the car rides, literally the car ride. She has the funniest story, oh my gosh, of when they all went on vacation. Like, oh, I think I've recorded it. I try to keep recording. Somebody gave me that advice that to record as much as you can when your grandparents are talking, like as you get older, to keep those stories alive. And so sometimes I'll just go, Grandma, I'm going to record you talking about this because it's so fun. And she doesn't mind. She's thrilled to do it. Okay. So those are the decades. Okay. This is kind of what happens in a nutshell. So, what I want to do, because you guys know me, let's talk about the tools, because knowing is one thing. And I'm sure there's been some key points in there that you're like, oh, I mean, if you're anything like me, riding on the emotions, there's definitely those moments, right? Where you're just like, gosh, this feels terrible. But we can start doing something with that time. And here are some just really tangible ways to realign how you spend time. So, one way is just a weekly time audit. Just track your time for 3 days. Just track it. Write down what you do like every 30 minutes. Just be intentional about it. And it's just to notice. It's just to, again, it's not to, don't even, you know, don't fib on this thing. Like just be real with yourself. Start getting honest with yourself. And oh, sometimes that's hard, right? But you are going to see how quickly where your energy goes and what fills you up or drains you. I've been talking a lot about that. I just had a workshop about this. What fills you and what drains you. And then I call it the people pie. Okay, so just think about this. Draw a circle, and then I want you to divide it. And you can be at any age, any generation. Divide it based on how much time you spend with key groups. So, like, it could be a section of family, it could be your coworkers, your friends, and I even want you to include alone time. And then draw a second pie. And that is your realistic one. I want that to be like the slices are as big as the time you spend with groups. But then I want you to draw a second pie with how you want it to look and what needs to shift in order to close the gap, in order to maybe make that a little bit more even or feel like you're more in harmony. Okay, now there's another one that I put in here, and this is borrowed from Greg McCowan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And also, I believe Mel Robbins uses this as well, but they call it the hell yes or no rule. Okay, if it's not a heck yes, it's a no, because time is way too precious to fill with half-hearted commitments. Okay. And I know just by looking at human design, I come from a very sacral place. And so it's that gut, right? And so it definitely is. It has to be a heck yes. Otherwise, it's a no. And then here's another one, the 5 minute phone call. Okay. I want you to just think of 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Call your grandma. Call your mom. Voice note a friend. If you're like, I do not have 45 minutes to spend on the phone, leave a voice note. Send a thinking of you text because it all counts. Because here's the thing, tiny moments also build your legacy. People will remember you for doing those special little things. It literally all matters. I really do believe that. Another one is the Sunday reset. Now, this is one of my favorites, and this is truly something I put into practice. Every Sunday, I want you to look ahead and plug in what matters. If this is something that resonates with you, and I don't mean just your meetings, okay? I don't mean like plug in your calendar. Yes, that's important, do that. But I also want you to plug in what brings you joy. Plug in one thing that brings connection. Plug in your rest and make it super visible. Remember, we're visual. I'm promising my husband, I don't think he listens to all these podcasts. I'm promising him that I am going to put in more rest and more moving my body. I have to put it in. Otherwise, I'm telling you, you guys, I let it go by the wayside. I love to work. I'm realizing this about myself. I love when I get in a creative flow. And so if I'm in a creative flow, you are not stopping me to go to the gym. Like he works completely opposite of me. He has a schedule and a routine, and it rarely changes. Like almost to the point where it drives me crazy because I'm like, hello, do you really need to go to the gym right now? Like there's so many other things going on. But nope, it's 2 o'clock. It's time for the gym. After my nap is from 1:30 to 2 because the market closes at 1:30 and he's been working since 6:30. So you guys, it's so different. Me, I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to record a podcast because I feel inspired. So I have to schedule some things in though. I have to do that because then if I do that, my brain is already looking ahead and I'm going, oh, okay, at 10 o'clock today. So I know that if I plan anything and I'm in flow, like that needs to kind of come to a halt because I have something else on the calendar. I have an appointment, right? Another one is say the thing. Don't wait for the perfect moment. If you need to say something to somebody, tell them. Whether it be that you want to say that you love them, maybe you need to apologize to somebody, maybe it's been on your heart to invite them to something. You guys, I'm telling you, the clock does not wait. Your words matter right now. This has been so evident to me in the last week alone. I did not realize how I needed some confirmation. I wasn't asking for that. Maybe I was a little bit. I was like, in my mind, I would just be like, okay, God, I'm trying to figure this out. And I just need to know. I would say things like that, right? And I'm not even kidding you. There were several people, clients, friends, family that were randomly leaving me, whether it was voice notes, calling and leaving a message for me, just calling me in general, that were saying things that were literally giving me so much confirmation. I could not believe it, but I was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea the timing. I kept saying that to people. And those of you that listen, you know who you are because I was like, I cannot believe it. So wild. But again, it was a reminder of when something's on your heart, say it because you never know how much that other person might need it. And then in turn, how much you need it. Okay. So let me just say this before we close. Time isn't your enemy. Just, I try to think of it as like a canvas. I get to be the artist of my time. No matter what, no matter what's happened, I can't go back. And I can't always, like, I'm not going to be able to rewrite the rest of what's happening. I have to just start right now today. So I hope that this is kind of just a gentle reminder to you that choose people over perfection. We don't have to be perfect. Choose presence over productivity. Choose depth over being busy. and choose meaning over momentum. Because even when the clock feels loud, you still get to be the artist in charge of the rhythm. You get to choose. So I hope you do. I hope this has resonated with you. I just feel like people are talking about it right now. People are feeling it. It really, again, it's one of those things, like I said, when it's on your heart, speak it because someone needs to hear it. It's put on your heart for a reason. So I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with me today. Anytime you guys pop onto this podcast, it means so, so much to me. You truly, truly are such a breath of fresh air for me. I look forward to pressing play every single time. It's one of my most favorite things I get to do. And I do not take it lightly because I know how valuable your time is. So I do hope that this made you just kind of pause and breathe, and maybe it will even shift something small within you. That is my hope. And if you want to get into my world even more, I would love for you to follow me on Instagram at joyful_Noelle. Everything's in the show notes. I am offering workshops virtually and live in person. There is going to be some things coming up. There's just so many things that are unfolding. So be in my world on Instagram. If you're there, you'll be following it. Get on our email list. Go to our website and rise2shine.co and check out what we have for you because truly, truly, this is our time. So thank you guys. Keep rising, keep shining, and know the best day is right here waiting for you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.